automatic differentiation, a technology that's at the heart of machine learning, and also a very interesting topic and one that kind of shows off some of the aspects of the Julia programming language, some of the unique aspects and strengths that lets Julia do remarkable things. So, automatic differentiation. So, uh, while the name kind of says it all, we're going to have the computer automatically differentiate. The technique is not what most people imagine. There's usually two ideas that are in people's minds of what an automatic differentiator might do. And the technique of automatic differentiation is really a third approach. It's not usually the first two ideas that people would think of. So the two ideas that people think of is the symbolic approach, kind of like Mathematica, where you do differentiation on a computer kind of the very same way you did it when you took a class in calculus. So there are rules, basic differentiation rules that are applied pretty mechanically, and if a computer could be taught them, then the computer will do it, so the human doesn't have to. So this is not how automatic differentiation works at all. Another imagination is numerical differentiation. For example, if I want the slope between q and p, I take the function value at q minus the function value at p and divide by the x value, the h. And of course, numerical analysis is about picking the optimal h. If h is too big, then you get what's called truncation error. You get a potentially not as good approximation as you like of the derivative. If h is too small, when you're doing a computation in finer precision, you may actually get round-off error, and that can create other havoc. Well, the truth of the matter is that automatic differentiation is neither of these two technologies. And this is very interesting. And I'd like to illustrate the difference with the Babylonian square root algorithm. So the Babylonian square root algorithm is a rather straightforward algorithm. Its goal is to compute the square root of x. And the way it works is, suppose I have a guess for the square root of x, I'll call it t. If t is too small, then x over t will be too large, and maybe the average is closer. So this is encoded in an iteration that will just simply take the average of t and x over t, and we'll keep repeating. And this is equivalent to Newton's method. It converges very fast. The technical term is it converges quadratically, and it works very well. So to illustrate this in Julia, I have this simple program. It might have looked the same in just about any language, I would imagine. I'm going to take the liberty of starting at t equals 1 just to pick something. So the first step would be to take t as 1 plus x over 2. And by default, I'll take 10 steps, but we, of course, could take more or less, iterating the algorithm as such. So it's kind of fun to check that it works. So here I will take alpha to be pi, and I'll compute the Babylonian of alpha with the algorithm that I just explained, and I'll also take the square root using Julia's built-in square root just to see that I get pretty much the same answer. Okay, we could do the same with the square root of 2, and one gets the warm fuzzy feeling that the Babylonian algorithm is working very, very well. Okay, so to kind of illustrate this a little bit more, I always like to plot things. It helps me get the visual of what's going on. I'm going to use Julia's plots package, which lets you switch out many different backends. It gives you the opportunity to have a bit of a beauty contest among different plots. So some plots work better for publication quality in research journals. Some plots work better in PowerPoint. Other plots work better in interactive discussions like we're doing here. And so here, this is the interactive one. I could sort of move my mouse back left and right all day. I kind of love being able to do this. Watch the digits converging. So I hope you can see that the black parabola on the bottom is the true square root, and the various iterations go from the top to the bottom, and you can see them happening. And I could sort of delete one of the iterations from the plot and focus a bit more on some of these others. But you could see that the Babylonians knew what they were doing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is use Julia to do automatic differentiation. And the very interesting thing is I will never teach the computer to take the derivative of the square root in the sense of 1/2 over the square root of x. Okay, you will not see that. It will never be mentioned. Instead, I'm going to use 8 lines of Julia. Here are these 8 lines. That's all there will be. And this will be enough for me to be able to get the derivative of square root. Just these 8 lines alone. In the first 3 lines here, I'm going to create a simple pair of floats. So I'm going to use D. D is for dual number, which was invented by a mathematician back in the 19th century. And a dual number is simply going to be, for us, a function and derivative pair. And so these 3 lines right here, it creates the dual number. And then These 5 more lines will be the calculus rules for addition and division. So I'm going to overload plus and slash, which are addition and division, and I'm going to also overload a few more things that'll just let things work together. So the rule for addition is if I want to add a pair of numbers, I'm going to add the function values and I'm going to add the derivatives. As far as division goes, I have this jingle in my mind, maybe you have it too, from my own calculus teacher, the denominator times the numerator minus the numerator times the denominator or denominator squared. We're going to do that. So if I divide, I'm going to divide function values, and I'm going to do denominator times the numerator, blah, 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 over denominator squared. There you have it. Okay? So now that I've got these 8 lines of code, which I'm going to execute right now, okay, oh, and I should mention these last 2 lines. What I'd like to do is just the same way we want to embed reals and complexes, I want to embed ordinary numbers into these dual numbers. If I have an ordinary number, I want to be able to just put a 0 as the derivative, and I want them to be promoted to work as a dual number. And so that's what these last 2 lines do. Having done that, let's check something like x equals 49. And of course, the square root is 7, and then here's 1 over the square root. And here's the same check in Julia, and you can see that the very same Babylonian code, and I'd like to point out, I never rewrote the Babylonian code, I just simply applied it on this number pair, and by magic, I'm getting the right answer, not ever having taught it how it works. We could do it with pi as well, seems like a good test to take, and once again, it just works. So how does this work? I'd like this to seem like a mystery for a little while, but let me, before I show you how it works, I want to kind of show off a little bit more about Julia. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same function, I never really rewrote it, and I'm going to show you the assembler for it, because Julia lets you do that. And I understand most people don't look at assembler, but the thing I really want to point out is how short it is. And you can see it's really just about a screen full of code, not even really. Short assembly means efficient code, and Julia is all about performance and efficiency without doing the hard work to get it. And you can see that without rewriting an algorithm, I am getting an automatic differentiation, and I'm getting it very, very fast. Okay, so let me also mention that Julia works very well with Python. People sometimes ask us, do I use Python? Do I use Julia? The Python and Julia communities are pretty good friends. We work together. It's all about open source computing, which we think is sort of the key issue. Here I am making use of the symbolic Python package. And once again, I'm going to run the very same Babylonian function without any rewrites, but this time I'm going to run it on a symbolic variable, x, so that I can see my iterations of my Babylonian algorithm. And so here you'll see the first several iterations of the Babylonian algorithm. It gets rather messy very fast, and the derivatives get messier even faster. So what's happening here is the symbolic program is mathematically equivalent to the numerical computation. But of course, the numerical computation is not a symbolic computation. Symbolic computations involve big digits and lots of memory. They tend to be slower. So this is mathematically equivalent to what we're doing, but it is not how we are calculating the derivatives. So how are we getting the answer? Well, let me start to reveal the truth. Before I do it the way Julia's doing it, let me kind of show you the old-fashioned way one might do it. One can actually handwrite, this is not what we're going to do in the long run, but one could actually handwrite a derivative of every other step of the algorithm. And so here I took the Babylonian algorithm, and every other step I simply took the derivative with respect to x. So you see 1 plus x over 2 became a half. Here's that denominator or numerator thing. And so we're going to run the derivative code. You see it's an iteration, and so this is going to run the derivative of the iteration. And you see that this actually does give the right answer. And so now the last thing is sort of a language issue. Now that you understand algorithmically that we are going to converge to the right answer, but we're not going to teach it the calculus. It's simply going to converge. So how did Julia do it? Well, Julia does it because we gave it the addition and division rule, and that's all we needed. Then that actually will automatically rewrite the code for you and give you the correct answer. And it's through the magic of multiple dispatch that you don't even have to do source-to-source translations like people used to do in the old days with Fortran. We don't have to run it through some sort of translator. Just at the runtime, the JIT compiler understands that every operation is going to be run as a dual number and not as the original number. And so here I can kind of show you a little bit more with dual number notation, which is sort of fun to show you in Julia. I'm going to add the minus and times rules. You might have wondered when that was going to happen. And so now what we're having is we're going to call the number 1 will now be 1 plus 0 epsilon. And so what we had before as the function value 1 and the derivative 0 is now going to be run with an epsilon. And we're going to apply these basic rules where addition and subtraction are exact. Multiplication, we kill the epsilon squared, and division, we kill the entire series. If you do that, then you could see that epsilon squared becomes 0. 2 plus epsilon squared would be, for example, 4 plus 4 epsilon. And once again, the code is very short. The assembler is very, very fast. Here's epsilon times epsilon, epsilon squared. It's interesting that Julia interprets the square as the object times itself, no matter what times means. I never taught it square. I taught it times, and square just worked. Even this that looks symbolic is purely numerical, this geometric progression. Um, and as well as this power, I never taught it to do it, and it worked. Just lastly, I'll kind of demonstrate that this can work beyond square roots. Here's a cube root example, and you can see that it works just fine. And I won't go over this, but with the forward difference package, you don't have to write this all yourself. The forward difference package will do this all for you. And then lastly, my very last example, let's set the precision to 3000. We're going to use big floats. And I'm going to look at the log 10 of the error. And so this is really going to be like the number of digits after each iteration. So it goes from 5 to 11 to 24, 48, 783 at the end of the 10 steps. And so you can see the doubling of digits, which is what people call quadratic convergence. It's kind of fun to watch that. Okay, and there's more that I could say, but let me end right here. And thank you very much for listening.